Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you ready for a bedtime story? Well, this story is part 1 of a 4-part series called Billy and the Blue Whale. I'm starting to put all my stories, which are improvised. That means I made them all up on the spot. I'm making them all into books now, and you can find them on Amazon, or you can email me at e3dstories@gmail.com. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who was very, very shy. He didn't have any brothers or sisters, and he lived all alone with his mummy and daddy. But his mummy and daddy were always working. His daddy worked in a factory miles and miles and miles away from his home, meaning that Billy only saw him on the weekends. His mom worked in a restaurant, and she came back really late every night. So the boy, when he left school each day, had to get on the bus, get off the bus, walk all the way up the stairs to his house, open the door, turn on the oven, cook the food that his mom had prepared the night before, eat it by himself, do his homework by himself, brush his teeth, wash his face, and go to bed, all by himself. His mom would come home about 10 o'clock at night, and he was always still awake, waiting for her. Whenever he heard his mom close the door as she came in from work, he would close his eyes and go to sleep, or pretend to go to sleep even. And every time his mom came back, she would always, without fail, go straight to Billy's bedroom first, just to check that he was sleeping. And every night she would see his eyes were closed, and every single night she would give him a kiss on his forehead. Billy always tried to stay awake, but as soon as his mom kissed his head, he fell fast asleep. In the mornings, when he would get up, his mom would have breakfast with him, tell him what food she'd made the night before, so that he would know what he had to prepare for dinner that night to eat alone again. And then Billy would go to school. On the weekends, Billy's dad would always get home on Friday night around 10 or 11 o'clock. And so that was a night that Billy could stay up a little bit later than usual, and because there was no school on Saturdays. Anyway, this boy, Billy, did not have a very nice life. You see, all he did was come home every day by himself. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, he would go home all by himself and look after himself until he fell asleep when his mum kissed him. He didn't have any friends to play with, and he could never go outside because his mum said not to play outside. Sometimes he could go outside on the weekend, but his dad would come home on the weekend, and his dad would usually sleep on the sofa all the time because he was so tired from working hard. This meant Billy usually had to help his mum to wash and clean and do all the housework. So the boy felt very, very fed up. Well, one day, I think it was a Tuesday afternoon, the boy was feeling particularly fed up, and he got off his school bus and went upstairs to his house, opened the door, went in, and turned on the oven for the food. And then he heard a ding-dong at the door. "Oh, who's that? I didn't ask any friends to come around," he thought. So he went and opened the door, and there, at the bottom of the step, was a little box, and nobody to be seen. He looked around, but he couldn't see anybody. And he knew that postmen didn't even come at 5 o'clock. So, after making sure that the coast was all clear, he took the little package under his arm and quickly closed the door and went and put it on the kitchen table. He turned off the oven so he could let his food cool down a bit. And as his food was cooling down, he went to the kitchen table and opened up the little box. He unravelled the delicate paper-wrapped present to find a little note, and the little note said, "Follow the blue whale." Is this for me or for Mum? He thought. Follow the blue whale? What does that mean? Well, he couldn't really think of what the note meant, and then he started to get hungry and remembered that his food was getting cold in the cooling oven, so he put the card on top of the piano and went and ate his dinner. As he was washing his dishes, he thought about the little note. Blue whale, blue whale, what does it mean? As he was washing his face and brushing his teeth and getting ready for bed, he kept thinking about the blue whale. A blue whale, a blue whale. I have no idea what that means. And as he was putting on his pajamas and getting ready for bed, blue whale, blue whale. Billy still had no idea. Frustrated and tired, he took the box and put it in the trash. And he took it out again and put it under the kitchen sink, just in case. He left the card on top of the piano so that he would be able to see it in the morning, and so that his mom might be able to see it when she gets home, and perhaps she would be able to work out what blue whale meant. As he closed his eyes, he thought, what is this blue whale? He still had no idea. And then, as usual, he heard his mom opening the door. So he closed his eyes and got a kiss on the head and fell asleep. And he forgot all about the note that told him to follow the blue whale. The next day he got up and did the same as usual, all by himself, and the next day, and the next day. And then it was the weekend, and his dad came home and slept on the sofa for what seemed like 2 days straight. Billy's life went on like this for a few weeks, and I think his dad took the card off the piano because nobody knew what it was for, and so everyone in the house forgot about the little note that just said, "Follow the blue whale." And then one strange day, as Billy was going to school on the school bus, he saw a picture of a blue whale on a car driving by. When he was in the classroom, he was learning his new words for the week, and there, in his school book, was a blue whale at the top of the page. At playtime, even his friend was playing with a toy blue whale, and then, as he was getting on the bus to go home, to the empty house, to the cold food in the fridge that he had to heat up, there, in his seat, where he always sits alone by the window near the back, was a small, handmade blue whale. He picked it up, and it said, "Come with me." Billy did not know what to do, so he held on tight to this blue whale and didn't say a word. When he got off the bus, the blue whale started to pull, like a magnet, but in the opposite direction, and it was pulling him, so he held on tight. And as Billy was getting close to his door, the blue whale pulled him past the door and way down the street. Billy was now trying to hold on to this blue whale, like someone might hold on to a dog that was running away with a leash. The blue whale kept pulling and pulling and pulling, and Billy kept running and running and running. He thought his arms and legs were going to fall off. But before he knew it, he was down the street, and he didn't know where he was. The blue whale kept pulling and pulling and pulling, and pulled Billy all the way to the harbour, where all the boats were parked up. The blue whale pulled Billy onto a ship that didn't seem to belong in that dock. Billy was pulled along the deck and down the steps into the belly of the boat and into a wooden cabin that smelled warm and piney. Well, it was getting dark, and it was dark in the cabin, and the boy was very, very hungry. Not scared, funnily, just hungry. And there was some food. A nice sandwich and a glass of warm milk. Billy sat down and ate the sandwich and drank the milk, and had no thought of what time it was, nor the cold food that was waiting for him in the fridge at home. But suddenly the note started to make some sense. Suddenly, Billy came out of his daydream to find himself struggling to balance on his own 2 feet. He tried to get out and run up the steps to the deck, but when he got to the top of the ship had already set sail, and there was sea everywhere all around, lit by the reflection of the clear full moon, and he was hundreds and hundreds of miles away from home. He didn't know what to do. He started to cry. But then the blue whale started to nudge him on his shoulder gently. You see, as I'm sure you have guessed, this was not any ordinary toy blue whale. It was a magic floating blue whale, and it was looking at Billy with its innocent eyes. "What do you want now?" sobbed Billy. "How am I ever going to get back home? What's Mum going to do when she gets home and I'm not in my bed?" Billy even thought for a second that he may never ever sleep a wink again in his whole life if his mother doesn't give him a kiss on his forehead. The blue whale nudged his shoulder again, and so Billy went back along the deck, down the stairs, and to another room this time, further down into the belly of the ship. The blue whale pointed with its tail to the door, and Billy opened the door with his eyes still wet from the tears. There, inside the room, sitting at a grand wooden desk with maps sprawled all across, held down by candles and compasses and clocks, was a very old man with white hair under his captain's hat and a white beard grown neatly to the top of his navy coat. The smell of the captain's pipe mixed with the wax and the wood and the old spice. "You must be the captain of this mysterious ship," thought Billy. The boy sat down, and the old man started to explain everything. Well, almost everything. The end. Look out for Billy and the Whale Part 2, coming soon. Sleep tight, sweet dreams.